Hey, what's up you guys, the Curious Owl here, and I am back with my June 2026 TBR. So it's not been a very fun ride the last couple of months for those of you that know. Things are very different right now in terms of like my overall scope of life, things like that, but finally getting back to where I feel like I am even keeled for the most part. So I figured I would come back fresh this month and bring you guys a TBR. So I have not really picked up more than a couple of books in the last 2 months, and I'm just now starting to get back into the love of reading and using it as my way of relaxing, you know, as opposed to feeling as if it is just kind of delaying the inevitable of some things. So anyway, with that being said, I do have my TBR game, my rule for TBR game that I'm going to showcase right now, and then we'll go over the rest of the stuff I've got going on for this month. Alright, hello guys. We are starting with a brand new game this month. So I'm excited for whatever's going to happen, honestly. I don't even care if I have a low health point count, whatever you want to call it, hit point count, that's what it is. I don't care if I have a low hit point count. I just want to play my game because it's been 2-3 months almost and I've missed it. So let's go ahead and get into this. So first we're going to roll for our character, character race, and class. So rolling my d6 for my character race. That is number 6, which is on the bottom, which is the Tiefling. For the Tiefling, their special skill is Infernal, which means that any books that are red, orange, or yellow on the cover will earn an extra 100 experience points if they are completed in the month. Now to roll for the class of my character. That is a 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4. We are a Tiefling Cleric. The special skill for the Cleric is Bless, which means I do get to skip a prompt if I so choose. So I gotta pick one that is going to be either very challenging or something I'm not interested in, but I do have the ability to skip a prompt that comes up on the board game. Okay, so as a Cleric, I get 9 hit points, but then I also get to add on 2 points for my Charisma and 1 point to my Intelligence for being a Tiefling. So I'm going to go ahead and get my stats all figured out and we'll go from there. Okay, so my stats for my Tiefling Cleric are that we have a hit point count of 9, strength of 15 with a +2 modifier, dexterity 15 with a +2 modifier, constitution with a 15 +2 modifier, intelligence 10 with a 0 modifier going from a 9 -1 modifier, Wisdom 9 -1 modifier, and Charisma 11 with a 0 modifier going from a 9 with a -1 modifier. I just used a random stat point generator to give me numbers, and I just picked whichever ones seemed to fit best with what I think this character would be. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our game now. Got my little character here on my Hobbit door, and let's go ahead and see what we're going to get. Oh, that fell off the board. Let's re-roll that. 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a light blue, which is the Arcana, which is magic based. This is, I believe, Arcana is, I believe, intelligence based. I could be wrong though, so we're going to go with intelligence though for this. A recent spell left shimmering fragments floating in the air. I have to roll a 4 or higher to avoid an enemy attack, and if I miss, nothing bad happens, which is good. But for this, I have to read a book with a lasting effect. So something that seemed to have had a really impactful effect on people after they had read it. Okay, so if I can roll the same number or higher, we will do well with this. But thankfully, nothing bad happens if I miss it. So let's see what we get. 15 with a 0 modifier stays at a 15, so that means we surpass the enemy attack, which is fantastic. Alright, let's see what our next roll is going to give us. 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Silver, that is intelligence. A note filled with strange symbols is found on a captured scout. I have to roll a 9 or higher, and if I surpass that, I do gain a point of intelligence, but if I miss it, nothing bad happens. And for this, I need to find a mixed media book. So something that, whether the physical aspect has like pictures or text messages or anything like that. All right, so we need 9 or higher. Let's see what we get. 11, perfect. With a 0 modifier, keep it at 11s, but that does mean I get to go up a point in intelligence. So my intelligence then goes up to an 11, which is still a 0 modifier, but at least I become a little bit smarter, which is nice. Okay, let's go ahead and roll for our next one. That is a 2. That is a nat 2. So let's go ahead and move. 2. White, that is Constitution. And my Constitution's pretty good, so hopefully we can do something with this. You find a questionable mushroom on the edge of the forest. I have to roll a 6 or higher to gain advantage against poison, or I lose a hit point. And I have to read a book with fungi on the cover. So some kind of like maybe plant horror or something like that. So I need a 6 or higher, and I have a +2 modifier for any Constitution rolls. So let's go ahead and see what we get. 16 + 2 is 18. So that definitely works, and I earn advantage against poison, which is good. So anytime I have a poisonous thing come up, like if my character gets poisoned or anything like that, I do get the ability to roll twice and take the highest number of the 2. So that is very nice. Let's go ahead and see what we get now. 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, which is green, which is nature and medicine, which is, I believe, wisdom base. Crossing a freezing mountain pass, the party struggles against exposure. So for this, I have to roll a 14 or higher to continue the game, or I die. It's just one or the other. And I have to read a book that has winter colors, so like blue, white, gray, anything like that. Okay, for this I have a -1 modifier, which is not great, but we need a 14 or higher with a -1. This is going to be interesting. Let's see if we can get through the mountain pass. Oh my god, you're kidding. A nat 1 -1 is 0. So, well, my character is dead. They die on the mountain pass from the cold. Well, that's definitely a way to go, I guess. So that's it. That is the game. And we got 4 prompts. It's actually not too bad of a way to get back into this game kind of thing. It kind of sucks that I couldn't have gone further because it seemed like I was really on a roll there. But it is what it is. The game is what it is, and I'm just gonna have to be okay with it. Okay, so the first prompt I ended up getting was a book that involves mixed media. So for this, I decided to go with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I have heard really good things about this series, and it does have like case files and text messages and stuff like that in here, which does qualify it to be mixed media. Next is a book that has a lasting effect, and when I thought about this, I was trying to find a manga specifically that fit this. And from what I understand, this is a series that is like, not only is it long and so people really enjoy it, but that it's just so weird and off the wall that people just really seem to enjoy it for some reason. And that is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Volume 1. This is the first part of the first series within it, called Phantom Blood. So I don't know really anything about this other than it is wacky and it is crazy, and I've heard a lot of people say it has had a lasting effect on them that are manga readers. So definitely want to try this one out. Next is a book that has winter colors, and for this I went with a TBR vet for me, which is Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. I have heard amazing things about this series and this author in particular, and I've been meaning to get into their work, and I figured this would be a great time to get back into my romantasy vibes because I'm very much missing it, so figured why not. And then the last prompt for Roll for TBR was to have a book with fungi on the cover, and I went with a Kindle Unlimited book that I had that I've been seeing a lot of because this author has been just everywhere in terms of their romantasy, their novellas, things like that, and this is one of their novellas, and it is What Feasts the Dead? What Moves the Dead. What Moves the Dead. That's what it's called. So this is by T. Kingfisher. This is the first novella in a series of novellas. I believe there's 3 currently, and it's about it's kind of inspired by The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe. So being a Poe fan myself, I am familiar with it, so I definitely am interested to see how this one goes. Okay, so then I had a little bit of a late addition to this. I posted my Instagram photo of my TBR before I realized that I had picked books for this thing, but it's fine. We'll just add it in here. But I did decide to participate in the Litha round of Witchathon hosted by Sam over at Yarn Reader, and these are the books I ended up picking up. I don't remember the prompts for the life of me, so bear with me. I think the first one has to do with Fae, because I decided to pick up The Cruel Prince by Holly Black. I have the whole series. I have heard amazing things about this series, but I've yet to read it, so I figured I would finally dip my toes into this world. Now, I know for certain I do not remember what the other two prompts were, but I know that these fit them somehow. But I have My Demon Hunter by Aurora Asher on here, the second book in the Hellbent series. This is a book I've been meaning to get to for a while, another romantasy that I really loved the first book, and so I want to get back into this series. And then the last book for Litha is a more contemporary romance, I think, or at least just a contemporary, and that is The Castaways by Ellen Hilderbrand. I am an Ellen Hilderbrand lover. I have loved all of their books placed on Nantucket so far, and I am sure I'm going to enjoy this one as well. Okay, now I'm going to get into the books that are going to be for Battle of the Bookish. So that is running over the course of the entire month. I did not post an announcement video for this because honestly life has been lifing really badly, so I didn't have time to make an announcement video, but I will leave the Discord down in the description for you guys to check it out if you would like to. But this round we are doing based off of the game of MASH. We did a week-long readathon in April that was basically playing a game of MASH. Your teams basically earned so many points, they would earn ability to fill out the match game kind of thing. But I decided to go with Team Mansion, and I did this specifically because the books that I had already slated for this month were going to work really well with this. For the Mansion team, there are 5 prompts, and the first one is to pick a book that is randomized on your TBR. I did randomize this, and I did it off screen basically, so I ended up getting The Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline Boulley. This is going to be a reread for me, which is good because I have been wanting to read the third book that came out back in September of 2025, and so I've been meaning to get back into this series to continue on. Although the books are companion novels and they're not necessarily following any specific like character or timeline, they do all kind of connect with each other because of the family aspect. So I do want to go back and read the first 2 books in that series before reading the third book, Sisters in the Wind, because it does have some importance based on like the connections within the family kind of thing. So I also really loved this book. This is my signed copy that I have got that I had Angeline sign, so this is a very special copy to me. I will not be giving this one up. Then for a book that is a recent purchase or borrow, I ended up actually doing a recent borrow, which is Daughter of Sparta by Claire Andrews. I have heard nothing about this. It looked just really interesting based on the cover, and it's a new release, so I figured I would pick it up. Next is to read a book in a different spot every time you pick it up, and for this I'm going with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. I think that this one would be great to read in many different places, and not gonna lie, this could also be a popcorn read where I just read it almost in one sitting, which would still count. So that works. Next is to read a book that has a romance with a rich character. So for this, I had to go with what I consider to be kind of a classic when it comes to rich fiction, and that is Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. I have not read this in so long, and I never finished the series, but I remember loving this so much. This was probably one of my first like real loves of romance back in like 2019, 2020, something like that. It was a handful of years ago, but I really enjoyed it. I don't remember much of it, and I would like to see the movie still because I've never watched it, so I'm pretty excited for this. Plus, it takes place in Singapore, which is a place I've always wanted to go, and I really liked it. I remember the vibes of that when I was reading it initially, so I'm pretty excited to see how my thoughts line up with this now after having read it several years ago. Next is a book that has travel in it, and for this I went with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Volume 1 because from what I understand there is a lot of travel between places and timelines and things like that, so that's why I picked this one. And that was after having done some research since I have no idea what this entire manga series is about. Next is a book that has LGBTQ representation. This is one of the prompts that everybody gets to use. It is not team specific, but it is one that we keep round to round because it is always important to us, especially during Pride Month, to be reading books that are LGBTQ centered. And for this, from what I understand, there is LGBTQ things within Serpent and the Wings of Night. I don't know specifically who it is between, but I had done some research and there were apparently some things in this world that involved that, so I was planning on using this. Then for a book that you just read over the course of the readathon, I decided to go with What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. Then for a book that was a TBR vet, I ended up borrowing The Four Winds by Kristen Hanna. I have really enjoyed Kristen Hanna's books in the past. I have heard this one is a little bit slower and it's a little harder to get into, but I have been meaning to go through her backlist for a while now, and so I figured I would start kind of with one of her more recent releases. Next is to read a book with pictures, and for this I kind of went with a book I found on a whim, truthfully, on Hoopla, and it is the first omnibus of The Boys series. I have not watched the show. My dad really likes it. It is very graphic from what I understand, so I am expecting to be disgusted and or possibly enthralled with this. I don't know. I've heard it is a wild, wild ride, so we shall see. Then the last prompt for Battle of the Bookish for the not team-specific prompts is to reread a favorite book, and for this I ended up going with a tried and true favorite, which is Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I have loved this book every time I've read it, and I've read it a few times, especially since the first time I read it back in high school, and it is just a classic that I find to be both infuriating but really, really fun to read. And quite honestly, I am in a very romantic mood at the moment. I am in a yearning kind of mood at the moment, so I think this is a great pick for this. Then I have picked out a few books that I plan on reading for the Tarot Readathon that is hosted by Deja over at Deja's Book World. So the first one is for the Four of Pentacles, which I drew, and that is to read basically a book that involves like rich characters, and so for that I decided to go with Crazy Rich Asians by Kevin Kwan. Then I pulled the Two of Swords. I'll leave all the information for this down in the description because I don't remember prompts off the top of my head, but for this I ended up going with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Volume 1. For the Eight of Swords, I ended up going with The Serpent and the Wings of Night by Carissa Broadbent. For the Knight of Pentacles, I went with What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher. And finally, for the Queen of Swords, I ended up going with A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. So with that, I have my Kindle on top to remind me that I have, you know, other books on top of this, but basically with that, that is my TBR for the month. 3 audiobooks, an ebook, and a comic that is on Hoopla, so that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 books. Remind me again why I decided to do this for myself when I come back from having read maybe 2, maybe 3 books in the last 2 months. This is quite ambitious for me, but I'm in a reading mood, and honestly, I do get into summer vacation here very soon, so I will have a lot more time to read. I won't have to worry about doing a lot of different things, so it's possible. We'll leave it up to it's possible that I could get through these, especially since some of them are kind of smaller and really very much like popcorn reads for me. So I am excited nonetheless. But thank you guys so much for joining me in this video. If you guys did enjoy it, please do give it a big thumbs up. And if you haven't already and you'd like to be and would like to see more content like this, go ahead and hit that button down below and subscribe to become an owlet in our flock. And I will see all of you guys in my next video. Bye guys.